Have you ever picked up one of those giant bottles of multivitamins? You know, the ones they promise you a whole year of health for like 12 bucks.
Oh, yeah.
And you notice how heavy it is. It feels so substantial, like a little paperweight full of, pure nutrition.
That weight is a huge part of the marketing, isn't it? It
Yeah,
feels important. It feels like it must be good.
exactly. But here's the secret we're going to share today. That heft you feel,
Uh-huh.
you're mostly paying for a year's supply of uh, low-grade industrial materials and, I'm not kidding, literally pulverized rock.
It's definitely not the vitamins making that bottle so heavy.
Not at all.
So today we're doing a deep dive into those common, cheap, mass-market multivitamins. We're going to pull back the curtain and show you what's really inside those pills.
What's inside, what's missing, and I think most importantly, why they are so unbelievably cheap.
It's kind of a shortcut to understanding what you're really putting in your body when you try to be healthy on a budget.
Okay, so let's just unpack this. If you look at the ingredient list on most of these cheap vitamin bottles, there's a golden rule.
Right.
The first ingredient listed, the one that makes up most of the pill, is always the absolute cheapest one. And like 9 times out of 10, that's calcium carbonate.
Which is, to put it simply, limestone.
Limestone.
Yeah. It's an industrial material. It's pulverized rock. That is why your vitamin bottle feels like a paperweight.
So we're starting with rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing this is not the same kind of calcium you'd get from, say, a piece of cheese.
Not even close. And that distinction is so critical because this cheap form, it's a huge challenge for your body.
How so?
To take that calcium carbonate and make it usable, to turn it into something your bones can actually absorb, your body has to go through this whole complex process.
It's not just a simple breakdown.
No, we're talking about up to 12 different biochemical steps. It's a huge resource-intensive uphill battle just for a little bit of absorption.
Wow. And I know the body already has a hard time getting rid of some excess minerals like iron. So it seems like where your calcium comes from is super important.
It is.
So if we're starting with something that inert, what about the other key minerals like magnesium?
Well, the next budget ingredient on the list is almost always magnesium oxide.
And let me guess, another super cheap material.
Incredibly cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem, again, is bioavailability. When you look at how much of it your body can actually use, the studies show an absorption rate of only about 3 to 4%.
Wait, 3 to 4%?
That's it.
That's unbelievable. So you're basically just flushing 96% of it down the drain.
Exactly. But here's the thing. People try to compensate, right? They think, oh, it's cheap. I'll just take more.
Yeah, double the dose. Maybe you'll get double the benefit.
But the only thing you've guaranteed yourself by doing that is a very, very potent laxative. Yeah. Overloading on that form doesn't help. The form that actually absorbs well, magnesium glycinate, that's up to 80% absorption. But it's way more expensive.
So the cost savings just turn into higher toilet paper costs.
Pretty much.
Okay, that puts the price into perspective. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. The word natural on the bottom.
Oh, yes, the magic word.
I'm looking at this tablet, clearly pressed in a giant factory.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how can they legally call this natural?
It's a fantastic bit of regulatory maneuvering. The thing is, there's no real strict legal definition of natural for supplements.
Seriously.
Yeah, because a lot of synthetic materials, even stuff that comes from industrial processes using petroleum or coal tar, technically started from something that once existed in nature.
That feels so manipulative. So let's take a classic example, ascorbic acid. Everyone thinks that's vitamin C.
And it is a part of the vitamin C complex. But it's not the whole nutrient you find in, say, an orange.
What's the difference?
The ascorbic acid in most of these cheap vitamins is an industrial product. It's usually synthesized from GMO corn and treated with chemicals like sulfuric acid. Over 90% of it is made in China.
So it's not remotely the same as the vitamin C in a piece of fruit.
Not at all. And while some people will argue that a synthetic molecule is chemically identical to a natural one, the way our bodies actually use them tells a completely different story.
Okay, so that brings up the core issue, right? What is the body actually missing when we take these isolated chemicals? What stops them from working?
That would be the cofactors.
Cofactors.
Exactly. Think of them as tiny essential wingmen. In nature, a vitamin never shows up alone. It's always in a complex with cofactors, which are minerals and trace minerals.
And those are important because?
They're absolutely vital. They unlock pretty much every biochemical pathway in your body. They help make neurotransmitters, break down food. They even activate your genes.
Right, like we know vitamin D is basically useless without its cofactors present.
Precisely. Vitamin D, when it's used properly, can activate over 2,000 genes. But if you take a single isolated synthetic vitamin, especially in a high dose,
What happens?
you can actually deplete your body's existing stock of cofactors just trying to process that one isolated chemical.
Mm.
You're trying to add a vitamin, but you end up draining your essential mineral reserves.
That's wild. And that leads us right to the synthetic B vitamins, doesn't it? Like folic acid and what's the B12 one?
Cyanocobalamin. And this is a huge, often overlooked problem. We know that over 40% of the population has genetic variations that mean they can't properly absorb or convert these synthetic versions.
So for almost half the people taking them, they just don't work.
It's worse than that. Their bodies can't convert them into the active forms, which are folate and methylcobalamin. So you get a system backup.
The backup.
Yeah, that unmetabolized synthetic vitamin just builds up in your bloodstream. Instead of helping, it can actually cause negative side effects because your body can't use it or get rid of it.
So the very pill you're taking to feel better could actually be contributing to problems.
For a huge chunk of the population, yes.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got rock, we've got industrial chemicals and synthetic vitamins that almost half of us can't even use.
Yeah.
What's filling up the rest of the space in these pills?
Fillers. And the biggest offender by far is maltodextrin.
Maltodextrin, what is that?
It's a highly refined industrial starch. It's just a cheap carrier to create that powder consistency. It comes from field corn. They call it dent corn, which isn't even edible for humans.
So it's just cheap bulk.
It's so cheap because it's heavily subsidized by taxpayers. It costs the manufacturers less than $200 per cubic ton. We're talking literal pennies.
Well, wait a minute. When you look at the nutrition facts, it's never listed as a sugar, is it? It's always complex carbohydrate.
And that is the dramatic loophole.
Go on.
While it's legally a carbohydrate, maltodextrin acts so much like sugar that it causes your blood sugar to spike way more than standard table sugar does.
You're kidding me. So you're taking a supplement to be healthy?
And you're essentially swallowing something that spikes your glucose higher than if you'd just eaten a lollipop. It completely negates any tiny benefit you might have gotten.
That's the hidden cost of the filler.
Exactly. And that brings us to the last little trick on the label. The standardization scam.
Okay, what's that?
You'll see a label say an extract, like ginseng, is standardized to 10%. And you'd assume you're getting something pretty potent.
Yeah, I'd think the other 90% is still ginseng, just maybe not the active part.
That's what they want you to think. In reality, you're often getting only about 0.5% of the active compound.
So it's the other 95%.
Cheap filler. Things like inert silica or, you guessed it, more subsidized maltodextrin. It's like buying a huge bag of coffee beans where only 5 beans have caffeine and the rest is just sawdust.
So if the product is just subsidized cornstarch, limestone, and cheap synthetics, this only makes sense if the people selling it are just massive corporations.
You got it.
Let's connect the dots. Who actually owns this whole scam?
The ownership structure is pretty astonishing. Nearly 100% of all the major mass-market multivitamin brands, the ones selling billions of dollars worth, are owned by big pharma, big food, big chemical, or huge investment groups.
Wait, so the same companies making, I don't know, weed killer, are also making our daily vitamins.
Look at the labels. Centrum is owned by Pfizer. One A Day is owned by Bayer, the company that owns Roundup. Nature Made is owned by another drug company.
That's a massive conflict of interest.
It gets crazier when you tally up the top 100 vitamin companies on the planet. They're all owned by just 14 massive corporate entities.
And that structure just completely dictates their intent, doesn't it?
Precisely. The goal is clearly volume over quality. The mission is to make the cheapest product humanly possible so they can sell billions of them based on price alone. Quality is intentionally sacrificed for profit.
And I guess that cheapness explains why the last piece of the nutrition puzzle is always missing, the phytonutrients.
Exactly. On top of the missing cofactors, these cheap products almost never have phytonutrients. Those are the compounds in plants that give you all those antioxidant and anti-inflammatory benefits.
The stuff that's the basis for so many natural remedies.
Right. And because they're complex and expensive to process, they are simply left out of the bulk formula.
Wow. Okay, so let's just summarize the reality here for you.
Yeah.
You walk into a store, you pay your $12, and you think you're getting the goodness of an orange grove. But what you might actually be taking home is a pill made of limestone, high glycemic cornstarch that spikes your blood sugar more than candy, and isolated industrial chemicals.
All marketed under a friendly label that says natural.
It's just Incredible.
At the end of the day, the fundamental purpose of nutrition is to enable all those complex biochemical pathways in your body. If the vitamins you take are synthetic, isolated, and poorly absorbed, they just can't do their job. It doesn't matter how great the marketing is.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the world's largest chemical and pharmaceutical companies are selling us health supplements that act more like glorified sugar and rocks. It just flips the whole narrative on its head.
Which really leads us to the final thought to leave you with. If these massive corporations are cutting corners this badly on something as simple as a multivitamin, what does that imply about the quality of the other heavily marketed products we relied on for our health? What is the real cost of cheap?